All right. Hey, everyone. This is Jess. Welcome to Airbnb Hosting for Beginners. Today we have another frequently asked question video, and I'm here with Doc Williams, who was fortunate enough to jump on video with me so we can actually answer a lot of his questions that he has, and as well as kind of share them since they are common questions that a lot of new hosts are going to be encountering. So Doc, you've joined me before. You can go ahead and kind of introduce yourself if there's anything you want to share. I know you're kind of in the space where you're working with clients and setting up, host accounts for other clients who have these properties, right?
Exactly right. Yep, that's what we do.
Okay. So your questions, I kind of typed them out here just so I can have better video representation. But the first question you had was how many sites should a property be on? And there are quite a few, there's Airbnb, VRBO, there's HomeAway, there's booking.com. So the way I would look at this is you can list your property on as many different sites as you want. For me personally, I started off with Airbnb because it is one of the biggest, more well-known platforms. And I never had any issues getting it booked or any type of traffic issues. Of course, this depends on where you're at, what the market is. So if you are, maybe you have your account created, it's been up for a couple months, and maybe you're just struggling to see momentum, then maybe that's an area where I would say, okay, try VRBO or try one of these other sites. Another resource you can always look at is like Furnished Finder, and I'll type it in here. Essentially, that's going to be more of a midterm rental. So think of traveling nurses, traveling medical professionals, someone who's going to be staying typically longer than 30 days, but less than 6 months. So your property is still set up, it's fully furnished, it's still able to be, accommodate those types of guests. Again, it kind of depends on the market. You can go to Furnished Finder on their main page, their website, and you can see what the demand is for midterm rentals in your area, how much, the average midterm rental is making per month, based on your property details. So you can do a little bit of research and see what that demand is. It's a little different than a short-term rental, but other than that, the only ones I've done Airbnb, and I've done 3 reservations with VRBO. And then I took it off VRBO, which is a story for another day that that I've already kind of told you. But I took it off VRBO and I'm just solely on Airbnb. So I have never had any issues with that platform. It's easy. There's tons of hosts and guests on it. No real issue. Any other questions related to that?
No, that's perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Okay, and then you had asked about VRBO. So I kind of went and let's look at some resources together. Um, so, and I'll include this, I'll put together kind of a beginner's manual. I'll link it in the description when I upload this video, but I'll include all this in it. Essentially you can go to like VRBO's owner's help section. That's the first 2 things you want to do before jumping on any short-term rental platform. And then your local government, just to look at your specific regulations. You want to do that with Airbnb as well, to make sure that you're allowed to basically have a short-term rental. And then I kind of go through here. It talks about preparing your property for rent, other resources. Now, VRBO is going to be very similar to Airbnb. So if I were to go to vrbo.com, all I'm going to do in this top bar here is just hit list your property, and that will take you over to the hosting side of things. And then I'll do a separate video on this, kind of walking you through creating a listing, but that's where you want to go, and it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't want to jump into the full walking you through a listing in this video, but that's essentially what you do. Did you have other questions related to like VRBO, or are you having any specific trouble getting started there?
No, right now it's since the last time we talked, I connected it. I went through Guesty
Okay.
and kind of did the onboarding. it was a little bit tricky just because it was a little bit different than Airbnb.
Hmm.
So it was just yeah, it was just a couple things I had to look at. The other thing is too, keeping up with there's a lot of we got inundated with a lot of questions
Hmm.
that we thought we follow. It's just very different questions than what we got on Airbnb. So just working through it and everything. And no, okay so far. Okay so
Okay.
far.
So did you, as far as like the questions you were getting, was it like spam, more spam questions, or was it just like actual questions about the properties?
That's a great question. That's what we were trying to debate if it was more spam or not. Some were straightforward, but then a lot of times it was um, how long can I rent this?
Hmm.
And it was just a lot of it was just totally different questions that I thought it would be almost exact same questions from
Yeah.
um Airbnb and they weren't. And that's why it kind of was in a red flag. Yeah.
Okay. That was, so when I first got started on VRBO, that was what I noticed too. Um, I got, because I never had that experience with Airbnb, so didn't really know what to expect. I guess I just thought it would be kind of the same, like you said. But I got questions that were like very obviously scammers, and I can't really remember what they were. I'd have to go back and look. Um, but so I guess to anybody watching, just make sure that anytime you're responding to a guest, make sure you verify their identity, especially if they actually reserve your space. Be on the lookout for red flags as far as, I mean, even a question as far as how long can I rent it? Just make sure you're kind of doing your due diligence of who this person is, why they're staying, who all's staying at your place. Because especially if as a new listing, a lot of the times when you first create your listing and it's brand new, that's going to attract more scammers because they know you're a new host and you may not be as seasoned or know what to look for as far as just your communication with guests. So not to say it makes yourself an easier target being brand new to these platforms, but if you're a scammer, that's kind of what they look for. Okay. And again, I'll do another full walkthrough video of getting set up on VRBO. I'll kind of just do a tutorial there. Your other question, you and I kind of talked about this before. ChatGPT or any type of like AI, artificial intelligence to write your listing descriptions. Have you done that or are you doing that currently?
Right now I am. Basically I put in a very simple prompt of like, this is the type of home,
Mhm.
this is how many bedrooms, this is where we're located, and then it built out the descriptions.
Cool.
So I'm using it right now. I just always feel like, am I doing it to like the best degree? Like,
Yeah.
could I get better at it? But yes, I'm using it for all the listings.
Let me go in here and I mean that's good. I use ChatGPT for all kinds of stuff. So let me kind of show like what that looks like. And again, each property is going to be different. I would recommend when you're asking ChatGPT any question, put as much information in there. So let's say write a Airbnb, we'll say a listing description for I'll just do my property, tiny house, 1 bedroom, 1 bath with fire pit, outdoor seating. Again, like list the kind of amenities. Let's say you have a queen bed, small couch, natural lighting. And if you're kind of curious on what to put, you can always go to like Zillow and look at property descriptions. I find those are at least kind of get you brainstorming as far as how to write a listing description. Um, and then, of course, I didn't put location, but you might want to put in Kansas City or where it's located. That way they can put some of that in it. But, and then just like that, it's going to write you this little description here. So you can just copy and paste. And I think on a listing description, you might be limited to 500 characters. So let's say it writes you something and it's too long. You can just say limit above text to 500 characters. And then it will shorten it. Again, I don't know if this was too long or not, but it should shorten it quite a bit. And that way it'll actually fit in the space. And then you can do that for a title or anything else on there. And I will say your description, you have like your description and then you have your additional details of the property. I think in your additional details, it can be way longer. I don't even know if there's a limit. That's where you can put like your house rules. You can really go in detail about, as far as everything your listing includes. So you can use ChatGPT for any and all of that. And then what I would do is would read through everything they have. And then I would go in and kind of edit it. So if you need to make it sound more like kind of your tone or your voice or put kind of a personalized touch in it, then I would do that as well. This is just kind of to get you started if maybe copywriting isn't your forte per se. And then automated messaging. Hopefully you can still hear me, Doc. I know my internet is a little choppy.
I got you.
Okay, good. Automated messaging, yes or no. So I put in some examples here, and you can automate all your messaging as far as when somebody books, you have an autoresponder set up like through Guesty or one of these other platforms that will send, the same kind of template text. Or, at a bare minimum, if you choose not to do automated messaging, I would still do kind of like a copy paste welcome message. And that will just save you a lot of time, make you appear professional. So here's just some examples as far as what to send. And there's a couple different outreach. So welcome to your property. Hi. And you can, edit in the guest's first name. We're excited you're staying with us. I mean, you can read it here on the screen, and I'll include this in the kind of welcome packet in the description as well. But here's a different welcome message here. And you can make this as personal, as you want. And then, just a quick message, can't wait to welcome you. But again, welcome to them to the space, kind of let them know what to expect as far as check-in or when they'll be hearing from you again. This next one has like house rules, as the Wi-Fi, check-in, check-out instructions. So make it detailed, make it super friendly. A big part about hosting and being successful as a host is just communication, setting the expectations, as far as what the guests can expect. Think about it as if you were the one booking a property and you make a reservation. Let's say you reserve a location and then you never hear anything from the host, or you don't get the details you need to check in, or you don't know, when you will. Make sure you kind of set the stage as far as making yourself available, putting your contact information, that kind of stuff. And again, if you want to type all this manually every time you have a guest reservation, great. I have my own message that I just copy and paste, and maybe I'll adjust it if in their reservation request they ask for something specific, or they mentioned they're there for an anniversary or a birthday. Then you can kind of cater that to their needs.
Love it.
You said you're already doing that, or you are using automated messaging. Sorry, Doc. Can you hear me?
Okay, now I can.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. My internet has just been super choppy, so hopefully it's fine for the video, but I know on your end I might be cutting in and out.
No problem.
And you're using automated messaging for any of
Yes.
Okay. How is that going for you?
It's going really good. There'll be some that I noticed that will just come in overnight. I have some, I'm using Guesty, so it'll be like, oh, we'll get back to you soon.
Hmm.
So just to do the catch-all. So overall, they're doing pretty good. And then when I don't, basically, when there's a question that I was like, oh, I could add that to the description or I can put that in more details in the listing. So it's been super helpful.
Yeah.
Um, I think I can do better, but it's a real time saver, especially like me not worrying about like, oh, I have to send them like the
Mhm.
Wi-Fi right before. So yeah, it's been really helpful.
Right. Yeah, just having some type of template, whether it's automated or not, is going to save you a lot of time. Because if you're just doing everything manually on the fly, it's so easy to just forget,
Yeah.
forget to send them certain things that are vital to their check-in.
Does Airbnb, I've only used it on Guesty. Does Airbnb allow you to do automated messages straight on the platform, or do you have to use something like Guesty
Uh,
or something like that?
I've never done it on the platform, and I don't know where I would get to that. So
Yeah.
I've never seen it on the Airbnb platform. To me, I've always done it through Guesty.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
when I had Guesty linked to my Airbnb and my VRBO, I did it on that, and it was able to send them, on both platforms. But I've never actually done it specifically on Airbnb.
Hmm.
So I guess that's a good question. I don't think so, but
Yeah.
then again, Airbnb does change and update quite a bit. Okay, your last two questions here. You said, what if a person on social media requests to rent out the property? Can you have them fill out a request through an online booking system? Um, and if they want to rent the property for a month, is there a discount? So let's talk about the discount first. This is just in your price settings. And you set this up yourself. So you're going to go to your calendar. You're going to go click on your listing. And then under your settings here, scroll down till you see discounts. So your weekly discount, and then you have your monthly discount. And you can change this. If I go in here and I say, hey, I want it to be 20% for a monthly discount, then that's what it will make it, right? You can have like all types of different discounts, early bird, last minute discounts, depending on their trip length. So that's basically where you adjust all your pricing settings, any fees, anything like that. Um, yeah. And then, okay, on social media. So I know some Airbnb hosts have like a separate website, like a website for their property outside of Airbnb that they will accept bookings on. Is that what you're talking about? Or you mean like, let's say you have like a
Yes.
Facebook page? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're using Guesty and then we have like Guesty bookings. And their suggestion was if we have people that directly inquire, just do it that way because then the percentages basically we just make more.
Hmm.
I just had never done it, so I didn't know. Do I first like, block off the time on Airbnb and then send them
Sure.
a link to the other one? So yeah, yeah, you're exactly right.
So, and I wonder too how that would, because yeah, you don't want to get any like double bookings or anything. So let's say someone, I don't know, because I just have mine up on the Airbnb platform. So, but I know there are hosts who like have a separate website or another avenue to book. Um, and the reason you would make more money that way is I think is it 3% of a fee on every reservation that Airbnb charges. So you'd just be saving yourself that 3% to have it listed on, or let's say you have a Facebook page for your property or something like that, to be able to have them directly book um from that. Maybe even if you didn't have a website and you had someone coming in, to be able to, jump into Airbnb, block off those dates, and then I guess accept payment whichever way you'd like. That would still,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
still a good idea. Just maybe a
That's something,
little.
and okay, that's something to consider. I gotta look at, yeah, just the logistics and how much work, or maybe just having them book through it.
Mhm.
Um, so these are good good options, good alternatives.
And I guess just trying to figure out like a downside of that would maybe be like be a little more cautious as far as safety. Because with Airbnb and you have a reservation come through, you can see that this person has been on Airbnb. They have other reviews, you can kind of see their track record of how they were as a guest. If someone books outside of a platform where it keeps all their kind of data like that, you just want to make sure they are who they say they are, because I guess you wouldn't really have access to any of like their past, experiences to go off of.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes
So
sense.
something to be aware of. Any ads out on Craigslist? No, I haven't. And kind of for the same reason, I guess, as I just mentioned. For me personally, I just like that security of them having a profile on Airbnb, and they have kind of a longevity of guest history and reviews from other hosts. And, that's, I guess, a little bit more trustworthy. And I have their identity and everything through Airbnb. I see a photo of them. So again, I guess you can advertise your short-term rental unit wherever you want. Even if you decide to never list it on a Airbnb or VRBO platform, if you just had like a Facebook page or Craigslist, you can totally do that. I would just be aware of scammers. And maybe till you kind of get your feet wet, I would meet people in person. Just, I guess, do whatever you think you need to do to make sure they're legit, verify their identity, stuff like that.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
You have to kind of ask yourself, why would someone be booking a short-term rental place off of Craigslist when they can just look it up on Airbnb? So it might attract people that, are a little bit more risky.
Absolutely.
So
that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that answered all your questions. Was there anything else you kind of thought of?
No, this is really good. I really like when we talked about from last time with just the basics of the checklist and what's going on. All of between these two sessions, this is extremely helpful. And now it's kind of just getting feedback and adjusting accordingly. But I feel a lot more comfortable after going through all this. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to share my experience, and whether it's good or bad, you learn from every reservation and every experience that you're going to have as a host. So it takes a little bit of time, and then you'll know pretty much everything you need to know in, a few months or so.
Thank you.
So, well, yeah, as Doc said, I'll put together a little packet and I'll put it linked in the description. So if you guys want actually access to the checklists he was talking about that we discussed on our first video, and any of these resources that we discussed in the video, I'll put that in the description. And if there's nothing else for me, I'll go ahead and cancel out this video.